Surely we live in a very unique world. You know, a world full of life in all sizes, shapes, colors, and origins. We have many birds in the sky, animals on and beneath the earth, and creatures from the depths that surprise us with their way of surviving. But while it's fair to say we know many of the animals roaming our world, there are many that are quite rare to find. And when we discover them, we try to take photos and videos to prove they really exist. With all that in mind, here are now the 20 rarest animals captured on video. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Now let's get started. Number 20. Saola. Given that the word rare can mean different things to different people, and sometimes rarity is defined by a specific region rather than being globally rare, we decided to start with a creature so rare that it can sometimes go many years without being seen in the wild. I'm talking about the saola, or the long-horned bull that can occasionally be spotted in Vietnam. I emphasize the word occasionally because it is a true enigma of the global fauna. In 2013, a photographer managed to capture a picture of this creature in the wild within the country, and the last time it had been seen before, that was 15 years earlier. That's a considerable amount of time and demonstrates just how rare this animal is. The saola was first discovered in remote high mountain areas near the border with Laos in 1992. However, instead of being fully found, scientists only discovered its skull, which adds a mysterious touch to its existence. This also reflects the difficulty in studying it due to its hard-to-access habitat. Fast forward to now, we still know very little about it due to its rarity and the difficulty in finding it in Vietnam. One of the main reasons for this is that its population numbers are very low. According to local authorities, the inhabitants hunted the creature relentlessly until it was on the brink of extinction, a trend that, sadly, many animals have faced throughout human history. The impact of illegal hunting and the destruction of its natural habitat have been critical factors in the decline of its population. Organizations like the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, have recruited people in Vietnam to try to find the saola and ensure that it is preserved and protected. There is great concern about the survival of the species, and several conservation efforts have been made to secure its future. To put it into context, in 2013, it was believed that, at best, only a few hundred of them were left in the world. At worst, perhaps only a few dozen. These alarming numbers illustrate just how urgent it is to ensure the preservation of this rare species. A decade has passed since the photo was taken, and it's unclear how the saola has fared in this period. Expectations are that due to conservation efforts, its population may have stabilized, but the true situation remains uncertain. The fight to save the saola continues, and the hope is that this mysterious longhorned bull will have a future on our planet. Number 19. The Javan rhino. Returning to the real creatures of our world that are rare and need to be protected, we now look at the Javan rhino. How do we know that the Javan rhino is such a rare species? Well, it's actually simple, because they live in only one place in the entire world, and it's not in the wild per se. They live in a national park. In Ujung Kulon National Park in Indonesia, a safe refuge has been created for them, where monitoring cameras have been installed to observe and track their population. These cameras have provided rare footage of rhinos displaying their natural behaviors, such as rolling in the water and mud, something that fascinates biologists. But what really makes these rhinos rare is the fact that their population is extremely small. In 2020, when the video was posted online, the population was only about 79 individuals. To give an idea of the gravity of the situation, in 2009, there were only 59 Javan rhinos. Although there has been a slight increase in numbers, reproduction still faces significant challenges due to low genetic diversity. The park is dedicated not only to helping the rhinos remain in the area, but also to protecting them from poachers who hunt them illegally. Poaching is one of the biggest threats these creatures face, mainly due to the value of their horns and skins in the black market. The demand for rhino ivory continues to be a growing problem, especially in Asia, where ivory is considered a symbol of wealth and prestige. This situation makes the fight against poaching even harder. Rhinos, like many other creatures in Africa and Asia, have been hunted to near extinction because of their natural resources, especially their horns, which are valuable in the black market. In some cultures, rhino ivory is considered one of the most desired luxury items, and many are not hesitant to kill the animals to obtain this merchandise. In fact, the illegal trade of ivory and other body parts of wild animals has become a multi-million-dollar global business. To say that this is a big business is an understatement. Even with these species on the brink of extinction, poaching continues, driven by profit and the desire to flaunt power and wealth. This makes conservation efforts, like those at Ujung Kulon National Park, absolutely vital. Without these actions, species like the Javan rhino would disappear, and it would no longer be a rare sight to see such an animal. It would be an impossible sight. Number 18. Amur leopard. You might think that because of their popularity in the world, big cats would be immune to becoming rare creatures. But that's not true. The Amur leopard, for example, is an extreme rarity, even among big cats. While most leopards live in Africa, this one has adapted to the cold climate of Russia, specifically in the regions of Siberia. That's a big difference. As one of the northernmost felines, it has the unique ability to survive in such a cold environment, an impressive feat of nature. However, its life is not easy. It's not just the cold it faces, but also the constant threat of hunters. The Amur leopard is hunted for its spectacular fur. Its pelts are extremely valuable on the black market, considered among the most precious in the animal kingdom, especially in areas like Russia, where the intense cold makes the fur of big cats highly sought after for its warmth. The demand for these pelts puts enormous pressure on the population of this species. Additionally, the Amur leopard's natural habitat has been invaded by cities and villages, further complicating its survival. Often they are killed within these areas with little resistance, as they are frequently surrounded by people who see them as an easy opportunity for profit. In some cases, corruption exacerbates the problem, as in certain reserves meant to protect these creatures, they are still hunted by illegal poachers. This happens due to a lack of effective enforcement and the negligence of local authorities. To better understand the gravity of this situation, imagine the value of an Amur leopard's pelt, which can reach $11,000 in some Russian villages. This price makes the animal a constant target for hunters, even within areas that should be wildlife sanctuaries. Moreover, other animals in the same habitat as the Amur leopard, such as tigers and lynxes, also face relentless hunting for similar reasons, creating a cruel cycle where animals are constantly pursued and killed for their fur or other benefits. The Amur leopard is not just a wonder of nature, but also a rare subspecies that represents a challenge to wildlife conservation logic. If this species disappears, it will not only be a loss for Russia's fauna, but also a reflection of how much further we need to go in the fight against illegal poaching and the destruction of natural habitats. Therefore, if the Amur leopard disappears simply because people desire its fur, it would truly be a great sadness for the world and for global conservation efforts. Number 17. Vaquita. So far, I've talked about land creatures that are in danger, but in reality, many aquatic creatures are also in trouble. And you could argue that no creature is as threatened as the vaquita. But what is a vaquita? You might never have heard of it? Well, it's the smallest cetacean in the world, and also the rarest marine animal on the planet. If I asked you how many vaquitas remain by 2023, could you guess? Go ahead, try. The answer, according to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, is that only 10 vaquitas remain in the entire world. This number is not only close to extinction levels, but is so low that, on a bad day, the entire population could be wiped out all at once. This is a level of threat that goes beyond the boundaries of imminent extinction. What's sad is that we only discovered this species in 1958. Which, in scientific terms, is very recent, and since then, the population has dropped drastically, nearly reaching the point of disappearing completely. But how did this happen? The answer is quite predictable: illegal hunting. Specifically, vaquitas live in the waters of the Gulf of California, Mexico, and due to their small size, they are often caught in accidental fishing nets, leading to their death. What makes this even more tragic is the fact that vaquitas are not particularly shy, and they often come close to the coasts of Mexico and California, making them even more vulnerable to this type of capture. They are so rare that WWF only managed to get an official photo of a vaquita in its natural habitat in 2003. And even then, the image was just a blurry shot of the head, a sad testament to the fragility of this species. Jokes aside, what is clear is that the vaquita is on the brink of annihilation, and humanity bears full responsibility for the steep decline in its population numbers. Given the extremely low count of individuals, any hope of recovery can only be fueled by a miracle, or more realistically, by a concentrated and global conservation effort. The reality is that if vaquitas disappear, it will be a reflection of how fragile the ecological balance is on our planet and how human impact can affect fragile species to the point of driving them to extinction. The future of the vaquitas is in our hands, and the urgency to protect these animals has never been clearer. Number 16. The Okapi. Now we return to Africa, where we find the story of a creature that was a myth for a long time until its existence was finally confirmed: the Okapi. Looking at the Okapi, it's clear how special it is and why you don't see it in nature as often as you might imagine. If an animal like this appeared in nature all the time, it would certainly attract everyone's attention. Interestingly, the Okapi seems to understand its unique appearance and, as a result, is an African mammal that doesn't hesitate to hide for long periods, avoiding curious gazes. The first sighting outside its native population in Africa occurred only in the late 1800s, but the animal wasn't recognized until 1901. If you're wondering what it is and what it's not, the Okapi belongs to the giraffe family, not the zebra family, although I understand the confusion, especially due to its striped back legs. Now, why does it have these stripes? Well, they help it camouflage in the dense vegetation of the rainforest where it lives, as well as serve as a form of identification for other members of its species. This camouflage, combined with its ability to move silently, allows the Okapi to stay protected from predators while avoiding human attention. In addition to its impressive appearance and camouflage skills, the Okapi faces serious challenges for survival. It inhabits the tropical forests of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a region with high biodiversity, but also marked by the presence of conflict and illegal poaching. Because of this, the species is threatened, with its habitat being destroyed and its population decreasing more and more. To combat this threat, various organizations have been working to protect the Okapi and its natural habitat. These organizations monitor Okapi populations, create reserves, and raise awareness about the importance of conserving this unique species. While the Okapi has a history of mystery and surprise, it is also a reminder of how fragile wildlife is and how some of the most fascinating species on the planet are still at risk. Its future depends on our collective efforts to ensure its survival, so it doesn't become just a legend of times past. Number 15. The Axolotl. The axolotl is one of the rarest and undoubtedly one of the most unique creatures in the world. Known as a giant salamander, this species was discovered in Mexico and named after one of its gods. To be fair, the axolotl possesses some abilities that could even be considered divine, with the most impressive being its ability to regenerate almost any lost limb, such as legs, tail, and even vital organs like the heart and brain. This regeneration ability is what makes the axolotl so fascinating to scientists, as it is one of the few animals known to perform this regeneration so efficiently. Wild axolotls exclusively inhabit the swampy remains of a lake and the canals surrounding the southern edge of Mexico City, a specific area that has unfortunately been severely impacted by urbanization and pollution. Although this species has been limited to this region, axolotls have conquered the world as pets, primarily due to their curious appearance and ease of care in aquariums. However, this does not prevent their wild population from sharply declining, with a significant impact on the species' genetic diversity. Due to their aquatic habitat, axolotls are particularly vulnerable to pollutants and contaminants in the water, which have negatively affected their health and reproduction. In 1998, it was estimated that the wild axolotl population was about 6,000 individuals per square kilometer. However, by 2015, that number had drastically fallen to just 35 per square kilometer, an alarming decline that places them on the critically endangered species list. This dramatic population decrease is a major concern for scientists and conservationists, who fear that the axolotl may eventually disappear from the wild. Despite being found in aquariums and other regions around the world, the axolotl exists naturally only in a very specific area, and the loss of its habitat and water pollution are threatening its survival. The main reason for this sharp decline is the contamination of their aquatic habitats with pollutants, such as trash and chemicals, which make the water unsuitable for sustaining axolotls. Additionally, the introduction of predatory species, such as exotic fish, also contributes to the decline of the local population. There is an ongoing effort to protect this extraordinary creature and ensure that it does not disappear from the world. If the axolotl disappears, we will lose not only a rare species, but also a symbol of the marvel of biological regeneration, something nature still has to teach us about resilience and adaptation. The future of this unique species depends on our ability to preserve its habitats and protect the natural resources that remain for them. Number 14. The Kakapo. Now let's move to a country known for its unique diversity of life, New Zealand, where we can meet a bird so peculiar that many of you probably don't know it well, the Kakapo. This bird is special for several reasons, one of which is its appearance, which gives it the name owl parrot. This is due to the shape of its face and the large owl-like whiskers that adorn its face. Yes, they are quite visible and contribute to its distinct appearance. In addition, like the owl, the Kakapo is a nocturnal animal, being more active at night. That's why its Maori name literally means night parrot. The Kakapo has a sad history, as, although it is native to New Zealand, it used to be found on several islands of the archipelago. Unfortunately, with the arrival arrival of predators like rodents and other mammals brought by humans, the kakapo was driven to extinction on those islands, and its numbers began to plummet drastically. As a result, efforts to save the species intensified, and the remaining kakapos were relocated to 3 specific islands within New Zealand, where they are under strict control to prevent total extinction. This move was crucial to ensure the species' survival, but there is still much work to be done. Currently, the kakapo population is extremely low, with a recent count of only about 125 individuals, which is alarming for the species' continuation. The small number of individuals makes the group vulnerable to genetic loss and diseases, as well as complicating natural reproduction. However, conservation efforts have been ongoing, with biologists and specialists dedicated to monitoring each member of the population, ensuring the creation of ideal conditions for their reproduction and protecting the kakapos from predators. While progress is slow, there is hope that the population may grow again. The introduction of breeding programs and the removal of predators on the islands where the kakapos live have been essential in stabilizing the number of individuals. Despite the challenges, the tireless efforts to save this unique species are crucial. With dedication, it is possible that the kakapo will recover and that its population will increase in the coming decades. Therefore, the kakapo is more than an example of nature's fragility. It is also a symbol of resilience and the positive impact that conservation can have on endangered species. Number 13. The Irrawaddy dolphin. The Irrawaddy dolphin is a species of freshwater dolphin found in 3 specific regions of Southeast Asia, which makes this dolphin even more fascinating. Despite its limited presence in these areas, which makes its life even more interesting, this rarity also brings a significant threat to its survival. It is estimated that the Irrawaddy dolphin population is fewer than 100 individuals, an alarming number that constantly places the species at risk of extinction. The Mekong River, one of the most well-known places where these dolphins reside, is home to over 1,000 different species of animals. The richness of biodiversity in this region makes these dolphins an essential part of the local ecosystem, and their extinction would have catastrophic consequences for the balance of the aquatic environment. The cultural importance of these dolphins is immense, as they are considered sacred by local communities, further emphasizing the need to protect the species. The fact that they are seen as cultural and spiritual symbols provides an additional incentive for preserving these animals, as local populations have a deep connection with them. Unfortunately, the low population of Irrawaddy dolphins is exacerbated by accidental capture in fishing nets. Although the capture is not intentional, the consequences for these dolphins are devastating, and many end up dead in large numbers, further threatening the species' survival. Fishing is a particularly severe problem, as nets often do not discriminate against the species captured, resulting in the death of many Irrawaddy dolphins each year. To address this problem, the World Wildlife Federation, WWF, and other conservation organizations have been working tirelessly to protect the species and raise awareness among local communities. These initiatives aim to develop fishing alternatives that do not affect the dolphins, as well as educate fishermen about the negative impacts their practices can have on the Irrawaddy dolphins. The collaborative work between conservation organizations and local populations has been crucial in ensuring that fishing nets do not become an even greater threat to these dolphins. So far, progress has been promising, but the fight continues. The preservation of the Irrawaddy dolphin is essential not only for the fauna of Southeast Asia, but also to maintain the balance of the aquatic ecosystem in which it lives. Therefore, it is vital that everyone continues working together to ensure that these dolphins and other endangered species have a sustainable future in the waters where they reside. Number 12. The angel shark. You may not have expected to see a shark on this list, but the reality is that sharks, despite being formidable predators and essential for the balance of marine ecosystems, need protection from both natural and artificial threats. This doesn't mean these animals are immune to the dangers of extinction, and the angel shark is a clear example of this vulnerability. With a currently reduced population, the angel shark serves as a reminder that even the most imposing species face significant challenges to survive. This shark can mainly be found off the coast of Great Britain, where a major conservation effort is underway to help reintroduce the species to its natural habitat and ensure its survival in the marine world. However, the angel shark population still faces serious challenges, as the species is at risk due to overfishing and habitat degradation. Awareness of the importance of preserving them has increased, but there is still much work to be done to ensure they don't disappear from the waters they once occupied in large numbers. A few years ago, a photographer had the luck of capturing an impressive video of an angel shark swimming in deep waters. sharks. And it's a fascinating sight, especially because this creature doesn't look like the typical sharks you might expect to see in oceans and seas. With its flattened body and unique appearance, the angel shark is an animal that draws attention but is, unfortunately, still misunderstood and underestimated. The region of Wales has led the efforts to save the angel shark species, and one of the most notable measures was the creation of a law that makes it illegal to hunt or harm these sharks in any way. This legislation is an important step to ensure the species is protected from external threats and has a chance to thrive again. These sharks, with their small size and harmless nature toward humans, do not pose a threat to people and therefore do not need to be eradicated. Furthermore, angel sharks play a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance, helping to keep the marine environment healthy and free of diseases. It is essential that people continue to work together not only to ensure that angel sharks survive, but also to increase their numbers in the future and make sure that this unique species does not disappear forever. The fight for the preservation of the angel shark is an important and necessary journey to protect the biodiversity of our oceans. Number 11. The red panda. Pandas in general are creatures that many people recognize and make a point of protecting, with the giant panda even being the symbol of WWF. However, most people forget that there is more than one type of panda that also needs our help, and the red panda is another that deserves all of our attention. Although less known, it is equally threatened and, like the giant panda, needs protection to ensure its survival. Red pandas were so rare at one point that, in 2014, the first footage of the creature was captured in Myanmar. This only happened because its habitat had been destroyed over time, forcing the animals to move to less secure areas. These small pandas tend to live in mountainous regions of China and the Himalayas, where their populations are scattered in dense and hard-to-access forests. Although they are smaller than the giant pandas we all know, their situation is equally concerning, as they are constantly at risk of disappearing if their environment continues to be devastated. Despite all these challenges, there is good news. Thanks to a series of conservation efforts, including the work of several organizations dedicated to wildlife protection, the red panda population is no longer on the brink of extinction, but remains in danger. Conservation work has been essential in helping them recover from a critical situation, and they are currently protected by various laws and regulations in the region. However, the situation is still very delicate, and the ecosystem where they live needs continuous care to ensure that the species has a real chance of surviving in the long term. The fight for the preservation of the red panda is not won, and still requires constant dedication. The destruction of its habitat caused by urban expansion and deforestation remains a direct threat. Additionally, illegal wildlife trade also contributes to the decline of their population. With all these obstacles, it is essential that conservation work continues and that we all stay vigilant about the situation of this species, ensuring that red pandas can live safely in their natural environment, away from risks and threats. Ultimately, no one wants to hear that any type of panda is on the brink of extinction. We must continue fighting for the survival of red pandas, ensuring that their future generations can thrive as a symbol of our responsibility to the planet. Number 12. The angel shark. You may not have expected to see a shark on this list, but the reality is that sharks, despite being formidable predators and essential for the balance of marine ecosystems, need protection from both natural and artificial threats. This doesn't mean these animals are immune to the dangers of extinction, and the angel shark is a clear example of this vulnerability. With a currently reduced population, the angel shark serves as a reminder that even the most imposing species face significant challenges to survive. This shark can mainly be found off the coast of Great Britain, where a major conservation effort is underway to help reintroduce the species to its natural habitat and ensure its survival in the marine world. However, the angel shark population still faces serious challenges, as the species is at risk due to overfishing and habitat degradation. Awareness of the importance of preserving them has increased, but there is still much work to be done to ensure they don't disappear from the waters they once occupied in large numbers. A few years ago, a photographer had the luck of capturing an impressive video of an angel shark swimming in deep waters. And it's a fascinating sight, especially because this creature doesn't look like the typical sharks you might expect to see in oceans and seas. With its flattened body and unique appearance, the angel shark is an animal that draws attention but is, unfortunately, still misunderstood and underestimated. The region of Wales has led the efforts to save the angel shark species, and one of the most notable measures was the creation of a law that makes it illegal to hunt or harm these sharks in any way. This legislation is an important step to ensure the species is protected from external threats and has a chance to thrive again. These sharks, with their small size and harmless nature toward humans, do not pose a threat to people and therefore do not need to be eradicated. Furthermore, angel sharks play a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance, helping to keep the marine environment healthy and free of diseases. It is essential that people continue to work together, not only to ensure that angel sharks survive, but also to increase their numbers in the future and make sure that this unique species does not disappear forever. The fight for the preservation of the angel shark is an important and necessary journey to protect the biodiversity of our oceans. Number 10. Whistling dogs. It may seem strange that a species of dog is close to extinction, considering how domesticated and common they are, but there is a large number of wild dog species that prefer to live freely and have no need for humans. The rare whistling dogs are an example of breeds that, although wild, need to be kept in their natural habitat to ensure the preservation of their traits and the ecosystem to which they belong. These dogs, known for their peculiar sound, have been a very discreet species throughout history. This species was so rare that, for a long period, it remained on the fringes of society and science. However, it took a large-scale global event, a pandemic, to bring the whistling dogs back into the spotlight. For many, it was a great surprise, as they had disappeared from human sight for many decades. In 2020, a surprising discovery occurred in a national park where these dogs were sighted again, after a long period with no records of their presence. But don't be mistaken, they weren't actually absent. They were simply living in their habitat, always with the discretion of not wanting to be found as part of their wild nature. Whistling dogs, like many other species, suffered a drastic decline in their population due to the destruction of their habitat. The forests and areas where they live have been severely impacted by deforestation and urbanization. The loss of these natural spaces led to a drastic reduction in their living conditions and the weakening of their populations. However, conservation efforts, including the work in the national park where they were rediscovered, have shown signs of hope. Now, with the recent sighting of these dogs in the wild, there is a revival of hope for the species. These dogs, although difficult to observe due to their stealthy behavior, are a reminder of how resilient nature is and how we can help it recover. With the right efforts, there is hope that the whistling dog population can increase and that they can thrive once again in the environments they have always inhabited. This is a clear example of how conservation, especially in protected areas like national parks, is essential to ensure that rare and unique species do not disappear from the face of the earth. Number 9. Sumatran orangutan. It may seem simple to state that habitat destruction has led many species to nearly lose their entire population, but this is the harsh reality. Animals like the Sumatran orangutan do not have the same adaptability as humans, who can move anywhere. On the contrary, they create a very specific balance within their ecosystems, and when that balance is disturbed, the consequences can be devastating. The Sumatran orangutan is yet another sad example of this situation. The dense forests of Sumatra, home to thousands of species, have suffered severe damage over the years due to human expansion and deforestation to make way for palm oil plantations and other economic activities. This has left orangutans with less and less territory to live, making their survival even more difficult. These primates, once found in vast regions of the island, are now restricted to very small areas. As deforestation advances, they are forced to compete for space and resources with other species and even with humans, which puts their lives at even greater risk. But despite these challenges, the good news is that we know Sumatran orangutans still exist, with sightings being made and even captured on monitoring cameras. This proves that despite the fight for survival, this species is not completely lost. Additionally, significant efforts are underway to reverse the damage caused by deforestation. Conservation organizations and volunteers have been working to replant destroyed forests, creating ecological corridors so that orangutans can move between areas and find the resources they need. These initiatives not only help restore the natural habitat, but also provide a chance for rehabilitation for orangutans rescued from dangerous situations, such as illegal wildlife trade. These conservation efforts are vital to ensure that the Sumatran orangutan does not become a reminder of what once existed, but a species that can thrive again. Wildlife protectors have been dedicated to caring for these animals, treating them with the attention they deserve and ensuring that the balance of their habitat is restored. If we continue to support these initiatives, there is hope that these magnificent primates can return to their natural homes and recover. Number 8. The Great Argus. The animal known as the great argus is not a mythical creature or a colossal beast, as many might imagine, but rather a pheasant. This bird, with its exotic appearance and unusual behaviors, makes it remarkable and can be found on the island of Borneo if you're lucky enough to cross its path. They are known for their evasive nature and are notoriously difficult to locate, even by those dedicated to bird watching. One person who spent years trying to find this pheasant reported that, despite their efforts, they saw only a single individual once, which really emphasizes just how rare it is to spot them in the wild. As you can see in this video, the great argus has an impressive courtship ritual, which has caught the attention of many observers. The display, a true demonstration of beauty and complexity, is something few have the privilege of witnessing in person. The fact that we have a video of this ritual is particularly impressive, as it does not occur very often, making it even more fascinating. The ritual, which involves graceful movements and displays of vibrant feathers, is a rare spectacle that highlights the uniqueness of this bird. The reason why we need to continue conservation efforts to keep the great argus alive and protected is clear. The loss of this species would not only be a loss for biodiversity, but it would also mean the loss of one of the most stunning behaviors observed in the animal kingdom. Every sighting and recording of this pheasant is a unique opportunity to preserve a rare piece of nature. So, who knows? The next mating ritual might provide us with an even more magical glimpse, rather than just an act of disappearing into the horizon. We need more studies and attention to ensure that this gem of wildlife doesn't disappear from our sight. Number 9. Sumatran orangutan. It may seem simple to state that habitat destruction has led many species to nearly lose their entire population, but this is the harsh reality. Animals like the Sumatran orangutan do not have the same adaptability as humans who can move anywhere. On the contrary, they create a very specific balance within their ecosystems, and when that balance is disturbed, the consequences can be devastating. The Sumatran orangutan is yet another sad example of this situation. The dense forests of Sumatra, home to thousands of species, have suffered severe damage over the years due to human expansion and deforestation to make way for palm oil plantations and other economic activities. This has left orangutans with less and less territory to live, making their survival even more difficult. These primates, once found in vast regions of the island, are now restricted to very small areas. As deforestation advances, they are forced to compete for space and resources with other species and even with humans, which puts their lives at even greater risk. But despite these challenges, the good news is that we know Sumatran orangutans still exist, with sightings being made and even captured on monitoring cameras. This proves that despite the fight for survival, this species is not completely lost. Additionally, significant efforts are underway to reverse the damage caused by deforestation. Conservation organizations and volunteers have been working to replant destroyed forests, creating ecological corridors so that orangutans can move between areas and find the resources they need. These initiatives not only help restore the natural habitat, but also provide a chance for rehabilitation for orangutans rescued from dangerous situations, such as illegal wildlife trade. These conservation efforts are vital to ensure that the Sumatran orangutan does not become a reminder of what once existed, but a species that can thrive again. Wildlife protectors have been dedicated to caring for these animals, treating them with the attention they deserve and ensuring that the balance of their habitat is restored. If we continue to support these initiatives, there is hope that magnificent primates can return to their natural homes and recover. Number 7. Pygmy three-toed sloth. Sloths are known for their extreme slowness and tranquil nature. They have exhibited this behavior for millennia, adapting to a life that moves at its own pace, but unfortunately, this characteristic can be detrimental in the long run. The pygmy three-toed sloth, in particular, faces serious challenges to survive. Not only is it a rare species, but it is also one of the most critically endangered. This is primarily due to the ongoing destruction and fragmentation of its habitat, which is being invaded by urban and agricultural development, as well as the exploitation of the species for food. Another aggravating factor is wild cats, which prey on pygmy sloths and contribute to the sharp decline in their population. The lack of adequate legal protection has also been a major obstacle, as sloths are not receiving the level of attention their dire situation requires. As a result, many efforts to preserve them have not been successful in reversing the damage the species has suffered over the years. In some cases, people in the United States have tried to buy and sell pygmy three-toed sloths, despite the alarming number of remaining individuals, simply because of the desire to showcase them as an exotic trophy. This, in the end, is a pure expression of greed, without respect for the intrinsic value of these animals' lives. The pygmy three-toed sloths deserve a future, but their fight for survival continues to be a difficult battle. We need more action to protect them and ensure that they don't disappear from the face of the earth. Number 6. Yangtze giant softshell turtle. Let's now talk about a critically endangered species with such a dire situation that it's hard to predict if it will survive. I'm talking about the Yangtze giant softshell turtle. According to official records, the last count revealed that only 4 individuals of this species remain in the entire world, which is extremely concerning. The good news, however, is that if successful reproduction occurs, a single female can lay up to 100 eggs, which would make a significant contribution to the population. However, the big obstacle is that, despite preservation efforts and breeding attempts, the female has been unable to mate effectively with the males, resulting in no births so far. And while it's possible that this situation may change in the future, the situation is still critical. If the female dies before she can reproduce, or if the remaining males cannot contribute to breeding, the species will face imminent extinction. The chances of recovery are minimal, and if this miracle doesn't happen, the Yangtze giant softshell turtle may disappear forever. Species is on the brink of extinction, and humanity must act swiftly to try to prevent an irreversible loss. Number 5. Golden lion tamarin. After addressing so many tragic stories, how about bringing some hope? The golden lion tamarin, an incredible and charismatic species of monkey, has shown encouraging signs of recovery, and this is great news for everyone involved in wildlife conservation. In the 1970s, the golden lion tamarin was nearly extinct, with its population reduced to only around 200 individuals. Species also faced disease outbreaks, such as yellow fever, which further worsened its situation. However, as of 2023, the golden lion tamarin experienced an impressive population increase, reaching around 4,800 individuals. While this is excellent news, it's important to note that the species is still classified as endangered and faces ongoing challenges. The population growth is a result of tireless conservation efforts and habitat management. When the most recent numbers were released, experts celebrated this significant increase, but everyone knows that we cannot let our guard down. The fight for the golden lion tamarin survival is far from over, and we must continue working to ensure its population keeps growing and that it never faces the risk of disappearing again. Number 4. Long-beaked echidna. Now let's talk about the long-beaked echidna, a fascinating and crucial animal for biodiversity, particularly for one specific reason. For a long time, it was believed that this animal had already gone extinct. However, in November 2023, a surprising discovery was made, putting an end to the idea that the species had disappeared forever. During an expedition in Indonesia, led by researchers from the University of Oxford, someone managed to capture a photo of one of these rare creatures. Not only that, but 4 3-second clips of the long-beaked echidna were also recorded, an impressive feat given its rarity. Long-beaked echidnas belong to a very ancient lineage, often referred to as living fossils. This makes the discovery even more significant, as it not only proves that the species has survived over time, but also offers new hope to researchers. The fact that a creature once thought to be extinct is still alive provides motivation to search for other species that may be quietly surviving somewhere, waiting to be rediscovered. Ecology is full of surprises, and the long-beaked echidna is proof that nature still holds incredible mysteries. Number 3. The painted handfish. The painted handfish is a unique and mysterious species, with its life history being one of the main factors contributing to its endangered status. This curious fish lives exclusively in sandy bottoms of aquatic areas at a specific depth, making its habitat already limited. The situation worsened when human expansion, pollution, and an overload of predators started drastically affecting these areas, further restricting the space where the fish can thrive. The problem is even more severe due to the restricted location of its population, which is found only in one place in Australia. This means that if something affects this single habitat, the entire species could be devastated. Unfortunately, this is exactly what happened, with populations decreasing at an alarming rate. As a result, the painted handfish has been classified as critically endangered. What makes this case even more tragic is the fact that its life is already naturally limited to a specific area, and the impact of human activities has been nearly fatal to the species. To ensure its survival, concentrated effort and effective protection of these unique habitats will be essential. Number 2. The fossa. It's interesting that I saved Madagascar for last. especially considering the immense diversity of life found there and how many of these species are constantly at risk. Now, let's talk about the fossa, the main predator of this unique ecosystem. You might be asking, what fossa? The fossa is a relative of the mongoose and is a creature that hunts lemurs, the stars of Madagascar, with great skill. So, if you asked her to take out King Julian, you can be sure she'd do it without hesitation. However, there's a major issue. Even though fossas are the dominant predator on the island, they are incredibly difficult to locate. Even scientists struggle to study them, making their population count a true mystery. This is extremely concerning because to implement an effective conservation plan, it's crucial to have an accurate idea of how many fossas actually exist. Without this vital information, it's impossible to properly assess the health of the population and take the necessary steps to protect them. If these creatures are not adequately monitored, they risk disappearing without us even knowing how dire the situation is. Number 1. The birds of paradise. I'm concluding with a comprehensive example, as there is an entire family of birds known as the birds of paradise. This group includes an impressive variety of species that inhabit regions such as eastern Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and eastern Australia. In total, there are 45 species within this family, and many of them face serious threats to their survival. What makes the situation even more alarming is that these birds are being affected by several common factors. First, they have been hunted for their extravagant feathers, which became a symbol of luxury and status around the world, being used in clothing and accessories. Second, the destruction of their natural habitats, caused by deforestation and the expansion of agricultural and urban areas, has devastated the environments where these birds live, leading to a sharp decline in their populations. The problem is even more severe because it is happening in multiple regions simultaneously, affecting different species of birds of paradise. The simultaneous loss of their habitats and indiscriminate hunting could lead to a mass extinction of several of these species in a short period of time, which would be a tragedy for the region's biodiversity. Therefore, conservation efforts to protect these birds must be urgently intensified. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Don't forget to check out other interesting content appearing on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video. See you next time.